Good morning everyone. This is Dr. Annapurna Ahuja, Prof and Head Department of Pedontology and Implantology. Today I am going to discuss here biological width. What is biological width? It is junctional epithelium plus connective tissue width. That's going to give tooth a protective coverage or protective shield. It protects deeper tissues from entry of bacteria and their toxins. So the biological width is defined as the dimension of the soft tissue which is attached to the portion of the tooth coronal to the crest of the alveolar bone according to Gogilo et al. Then what is the significance of biological width? The biological width is essential for the preservation of periodontal health as it is going to form a protective shield beneath the gingival sulcus, base of the gingival sulcus. The mean biological width is determined to be 2.04 mm. So what are the consequences of violating biological width? So what are the consequences of violating biological width? When biological width is violated, it may cause chronic progressive gingival inflammation around the restoration. There could be bleeding on probing, localized gingival enlargement, pocket formation, loss of attachment of this biological width in restorative dentistry. Bone loss when the relationship between restorative dentistry and periodontics is interdependent. When subgingival margins are indicated for the restorations, and they are most commonly indicated because of aesthetic purpose and aesthetic reason, the restorative dentist must not disturb the junctional epithelium or connective tissue apparatus during the preparation and impression taking. So what all margins, how margins are prepared, so what are the different types of crown placement? There could be three types: supragingival margin, equigingival margin and subgingival margin. Supragingival margin of the restorations. It has the least impact on the periodontium, but it is not aesthetically advised or aesthetically pleasing because the finish line can be seen when patient smiles or speaks. That's why it is aesthetically not at all impressive. Equigingival margin of the restoration, that coincides with the gingival margin. The use of equigingival margins traditionally was not desirable because they were thought to favor more plaque accumulation than supragingival or subgingival margins. That's why they result in greater gingival inflammation and periodontal breakdown. Next is subgingival margin of the restoration. The restorative consideration will frequently dictate the placement of restoration margins beneath the gingival tissue crest because of caries or tooth deficiencies and or to mask the tooth restoration interface. Restorative margin placement within the biological width is detrimental to periodontal health and act as a plaque retentive factor. In this picture you can see this is crown placement, and it is just below or just approaching the crest of the alveolar bone. It is causing gingivitis and it is affecting the connective tissue fiber attachment, and it is affecting the biological width. Next, I'd like to discuss evaluation of biological width. Evaluation of biological width by clinical method. If patient starts experiencing tissue discomfort and there is dull aching pain around the restoration, that means the biological width is being violated by the restoration and crown, and it is considered to be a good indicator that margin extend into the attachment and that biological width violation has occurred. Next is bone sounding. It is also called as transgingival probing. The biological width can also be identified by probing under local anesthesia. What we have to do is first inject the local anesthesia to the patient, then put a probe into the gingival sulcus and punch out the gingival crevice that is sulcus, to reach out the bone, that is called as bone sounding or transgingival probing. Okay, this is going to tell us how much is the distance from gingival margin to the crest of the alveolar bone. Okay, this may aid along with radiograph. This is additional method to detect the biological width. Then next is radiographic method. All thanks to Sushma and Gaur in 1994, they have introduced PPR, that is parallel profile radiographic technique, which is quite easy method to detect biological width, that is dentogingival net. So what's the normal alveolar crest? In the normal alveolar crest patient, the midfacial measurement is about 3 mm and the proximal measurement is ranged from 3 to 4.5 mm. So the margin of the crown should be generally be placed no closer than 2.5 mm from the alveolar crest. That means 0.5 mm below subgingivally we can place the restoration margin. You can see here in these three pictures how the alveolar crest is assessed, how probing is done. And another picture is showing the normal crest level and another is radiograph. So what do you understand by high crest or compromised connective tissue attachment? High crest means there is hardly any space for biological width. The alveolar bone crest is exactly falling at the level of cemento-enamel junction. So in this situation, it is commonly not possible to place subgingival margin because the margin will be too close to the alveolar bone, resulting in biological width, impingement and chronic inflammation. Ensured in this case, gingiva easily get in. Then coming to the low crest. Low crest patient group, the mid-facial measurement is greater than 3 mm and proximal measurement is also greater than 4.5 mm. They are most susceptible for recession post crown placement. Then why do we need to determine crest category? Crest category is determined for the placement of crown margin. If the sulcus probes 1.5 mm or less, the restorative margin could be placed 0.5 mm below the gingival tissue crest. If the sulcus probes it is more than 1 mm, 1.5 mm, the restorative margin can be placed in half the depth of the sulcus. If the sulcus is greater than 2 mm, gingivectomy could be performed to lengthen the tooth and create 1.5 mm sulcus. Then patient can be treated as per rule 1. Okay. Then how do we correct this biological width? What are the different techniques to correct this biological width? One is surgical, another one we can also utilize orthodontic technique for crown lengthening. Under surgical crown lengthening, we've got external bevel gingivectomy, internal bevel gingivectomy. It is also called undisplaced flap. And third one is apical repositioned flap, along with without osseous reduction or with osseous reduction. First, coming to surgical crown lengthening. Crown lengthening is a surgery which is designed to increase the clinical crown length. So what are the types of crown lengthening? Aesthetic and functional. Aesthetic, it is done for aesthetic purpose, done mainly in anterior teeth. Functional, which is done to expose root deformities or root caries for the crown placement. Then coming to external bevel gingivectomy. Gingivectomy is usually very useful and predictable surgical procedure for reconstruction of biological width. However, it can be used only in situation with hyperplasia or pseudopocket, that is more than 3 mm of biological width and presence of adequate amount of keratinized tissue. Internal bevel gingivectomy or undisplaced flap. Reduction of excessive pocket depth and exposure of additional coronal tooth structure in absence of sufficient zone of attached gingiva with or without the need for correction of osseous abnormalities requires internal bevel gingivectomy. You can see here internal bevel gingivectomy starting from margin of the gingiva towards the crest of the bone. Then comes apical position flap surgery. We have got two types in this: without osseous reduction surgery, with osseous reduction surgery. Apical reposition flap surgery without osseous reduction. It is indicated in altered passive eruption. That means Biological width is normal, but there is excessive gingival display which is covering the portion of the tooth, giving it a short appearance or squarish appearance. In this case, we can do apical reposition flap surgery without osseous resection. Altered passive eruption is described as a condition in which relationship between teeth, alveolar bone and the soft tissue creates an excessive gingival display. It's also called as gummy smile. In this, internal bevel incision, clavicular incision, interdental incisions are given. Then, if necessary, vertical incisions are also given to displace the flap apical and suture. Here you can see in first picture, internal bevel incision is given and second is clavicular incision. Then flap is reflected. After reflection of the flap, we can inspect the bone in a direct vision, do the osteoplasty or osteectomy if it is required, then cover or suture the flap back on the bone surface. So here few clinical cases you can see. Here only apical displacement of the flap without osseous recontouring. Here it is a normal biological width. You can see the bony margin is placed well below the CEJ. Then coming to apical repositioning of the flap with osseous reduction, indicated in high alveolar crest with excessive gingival display or gingival overgrowth patients in root caries. So what are we going to do? Internal bevel incision is given, clavicular incision is given, flap is elevated. Third picture, osseous recontouring is done. Okay, vertical incisions are given if needed, then flap is sutured back. It's a case presentation. You can see the crest of the alveolar bone is falling in place in a line with the CEJ. Then second picture, after elevation of the flap, osseous recontouring is done. In third picture, immediately post-operative, that's 7-day post-operative, and fourth picture after. Then the last technique is orthodontic technique for crown lengthening. It's also called as forced eruption to treat non-restorable or previously hopeless teeth. According to Starr, there are two concepts of forced eruption. Forced eruption with minimal osseous resection and forced eruption combined with fibrotomy. Indicated in altered active eruption, indicated only in teeth with proper crown root ratio, not done in small root length cases. So fibrotomy could be defined as a surgical technique that divides the free gingival and transseptal fibers around rotated teeth that have been corrected orthodontically. So this is biological width. Thank you.